Have you ever felt a profound shift in your relationship with your adult children, where the deep respect you once shared seems to have faded? We are about to reveal 6 profound ways to reclaim that reverence, transforming your family dynamics for the better. If you're watching this video, comment family respect right now to show you're ready for this journey. It's a universal truth that as life progresses, the roles between parents and their offspring naturally evolve. You dedicated decades to nurturing them, imparting wisdom, and making immense sacrifices. Yet, a day may arrive when you sense a subtle yet significant change. Perhaps your guidance is overlooked, your viewpoints are brushed aside, or they speak to you with an air of condescension. Even worse, you might start feeling like a burden, and the ache that accompanies such a realization can be profound. When your children begin to treat you with less regard than you're due, a flurry of emotions can arise: frustration, even anger. Your immediate inclination might be to recount every sacrifice you've made, every year you prioritize their well-being. However, here's a crucial insight. Anger won't mend this fracture. In fact, it often exacerbates the situation. Instead, there's a far more potent path to re-establish their esteem, one free from conflict, dispute, and resentment. Today, we're unveiling 6 powerful strategies that you can employ when your children no longer show you the deference you deserve. These are impactful adjustments, subtle shifts in your reactions that can completely alter their perception of you. Some of these suggestions might genuinely surprise you, but if you remain with us until the very end, you'll uncover how to regain your rightful position as a revered, valued presence in their lives. Let's delve into these transformative actions. 1. Cease seeking their affirmation. Let's start with a pivotal point. One of the most significant missteps parents make, particularly as they mature, is to excessively strive for their children's approval. You might recognize this pattern in your own behavior. You go to considerable lengths to accommodate them. You consent when your true desire is to decline, and you place their needs above your own, clinging to the hope that if you just do enough, their appreciation will grow. But here's the unvarnished reality. The more you pursue their affirmation, the less respect they tend to show you. True respect isn't earned through endless self-sacrifice. It's cultivated through robust self-respect. If you constantly bend over backward, perpetually acquiesce, and continually attempt to maintain harmony, what you're inadvertently conveying is that your sentiments are secondary. Once they internalize this belief, it becomes effortless for them to take you for granted. Consider the narrative of Martha, a vibrant woman in her early 70s from Vancouver, Canada. In her younger years, Martha was known for her fierce independence. However, as she entered her golden years, she gradually ceded control, allowing her adult children in their late 20s and early 30s to dictate most family decisions. She would meticulously rearrange her schedule to align with their conveniences, suppress her own opinions, and even overlook their dismissive tone when they addressed her. "I just want to keep the family cohesive," she once confided in a hushed tone. Yet, what transpired? Her children began to undervalue her contributions. They perceived her as someone who would perpetually adjust, always agree, and consistently remain silent. Martha believed she was preserving tranquility, but in truth, she was slowly eroding her own voice. If your children are not showing you due respect, the initial step isn't to demand it. It's to cease behaving as though you require it. Establish clear boundaries. Decline requests when necessary. Express your thoughts, even if they don't align with your children's preferences. Because the moment you begin to genuinely respect yourself, their perception of you will begin to shift, and with time, that respect will invariably return. Comment self-respect if you agree with this crucial point. 2. Guide by example. Don't engage in arguments. Moving on, when your children disregard your perspectives, interrupt your speech, or treat you with a lack of deference, your immediate instinct might be to argue, to remind them of all you've accomplished for them, to insist they listen. But let me share an insight that could spare you years of needless frustration. Arguing is rarely effective. Ponder this for a moment. When was the last occasion you successfully compelled someone to respect you through a verbal confrontation? Respect isn't won through mere words. It's cultivated through your presence, through the way you conduct yourself, through your measured responses when others attempt to test your patience. If you respond to disrespect with anger, you're merely reinforcing their preconceived notion that they hold power over you. Let's look at the story of David, a retired headmaster in his late 60s from London, England, who had devoted his career to leading classrooms with unwavering confidence. Yet, within his own home, his grown children, in their early to mid-30s, had begun treating him as an afterthought. They dismissed his advice, shrugged off his concerns, and at times even chuckled when he attempted to correct their behavior. Initially, David would engage in heated debates, striving to prove he still merited their reverence. But the more he fought, the more strained their relationships became. Then, one day, David implemented a significant change. Instead of arguing, he started to genuinely listen. He ceased pursuing respect through vocal affirmations and instead carried himself with the quiet authority of a man who already possessed it. He spoke calmly, with wisdom, devoid of any need to win the conversation. Gradually, his children started to notice. They observed a man who wasn't desperate for their approval, who didn't feel the need to validate himself, but simply was a true pillar of strength. If your children are not showing you proper respect, do not contend with them for it. Demonstrate what respect truly looks like through the way you conduct yourself. Maintain your dignity, speak with conviction, and most importantly, never descend to their level. Because when you stand your ground with grace and composure, they will sense it, and in due course, they will emulate your dignified lead. I believe you're enjoying this video. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment "wonderful" if you're enjoying this video. 3. Disengage your emotional reliance. Now, let's discuss a challenging yet vital lesson to absorb as you age. You cannot solely depend on your children for emotional fulfillment. While your love for them is undoubtedly profound, and your desire for their reciprocal affection and respect is natural, the moment they detect that you need them to feel validated, the power dynamic within the relationship shifts significantly. The truth is, people, even your own children, tend to admire and respect those who are emotionally self-sufficient. When you lean on them for affirmation, affection, or attention, it places an unspoken burden upon them. Instead of feeling grateful, they may begin to feel burdened. They might withdraw or start treating you with impatience or even irritation. And the more you pursue their love, the less freely they tend to offer it. Consider the case of Olivia, a compassionate mother in her early 60s from Sydney, Australia, who had poured her entire being into raising her children. As they matured and became immersed in their own lives, Olivia found herself frequently waiting by the phone, yearning for their calls. When the calls didn't come, she would initiate contact, often too frequently. She would gently remind them how much she missed them, how she wished they would visit more often. But instead of drawing them nearer, this approach often created distance. Her calls began to be perceived as an obligation rather than something they genuinely anticipated. Then, one day, Olivia made a pivotal decision. She stopped waiting. She stopped initiating contact first. Instead, she began to focus on her own well-being, embracing new hobbies, enjoying outings with friends, and diligently cultivating her own happiness. And something remarkable occurred. Her children began to call more frequently. They started to respect her time, recognizing her as an individual with a rich and fulfilling life of her own. The message is straightforward. The less you rely on your children to make you feel essential, the more they will genuinely begin to value your presence. When you demonstrate that you can stand firmly on your own 2 feet, they will begin to respect you, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely admire the fulfilling life you've constructed for yourself. Comment "independent spirit" if this resonates with you. 4. Establish and uphold boundaries. Moving on to another critical aspect, a primary reason children may lose respect for their parents is simply because the parents permit it. If you allow your children to speak to you disrespectfully, disregard your opinions, or treat you as if your time and feelings are inconsequential, they will continue to do so. This isn't because they are inherently malicious individuals, but because people, especially close family members, will consistently treat you precisely the way you permit them to. Setting boundaries doesn't equate to severing ties with your children or intentionally creating conflict. It signifies calmly and firmly deciding what types of behavior you will and will not tolerate. More importantly, it means consistently enforcing those boundaries when they are breached. I recall the story of John, a retired entrepreneur in his mid-70s from New York, USA, who had spent his career running a successful business with remarkable discipline and unwavering confidence. However, when it came to his adult children, who were now in their late 20s and early 40s, he found himself struggling. They would interrupt him mid-sentence, dismiss his concerns with a wave of the hand, and even openly criticize his lifestyle choices. Initially, he tolerated it, telling himself it wasn't worth the inevitable confrontation. But over time, he realized that every instance of his silence was inadvertently teaching them that their disrespectful behavior was acceptable. So, one day, John altered his approach. When his son interrupted him, he calmly stated, "I will continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter brushed aside his opinion, he simply responded, "You don't have to concur with me, but I do expect you to respect my perspective." And when they continued to push his limits, he made it unequivocally clear, if they couldn't treat him with fundamental respect, he would limit his time with them. And what transpired? They began to pay attention. At first, there was resistance, but over time, they recognized that their father was resolute. They saw that he valued himself sufficiently to demand respect, and as a result, they began to offer it to him. If your children are not respecting you, it's time to pose a crucial question to yourself: are you inadvertently enabling it? Because if you don't establish boundaries, they certainly won't do it for you. And if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else will. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment boundaries below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Your unwavering support empowers us to continue creating enriching content to both inform and inspire you. Now, let's proceed to the next point. 5. Cease unacknowledged giving. Now, let's talk about the fifth crucial action. One of the swiftest ways to erode respect is to continuously offer assistance or resources to individuals who do not truly appreciate them. As parents, we often fall into this pattern more frequently than we realize. We generously provide our time, our energy, our unwavering support. Even when these contributions go unacknowledged, even when they are taken for granted, and even when we are met with nothing but an air of entitlement. But here's the unvarnished truth. When you give relentlessly to someone who fails to appreciate it, you don't cultivate deeper affection. You don't build greater esteem. Instead, you merely foster an expectation. They cease to perceive your benevolence as something valuable and begin to view it as something they are inherently entitled to. And the instant you cease this constant outpouring, they don't feel grateful. They feel inconvenienced. Let's illustrate this with the story of William, a benevolent father in his late 60s from Glasgow, Scotland, who had always been exceptionally generous with his children, who were now in their early 20s and mid-30s. He offered financial aid whenever they encountered difficulties, dropped everything to provide assistance, and even meticulously restructured his own life to accommodate their ever-evolving needs. Yet, instead of receiving gratitude, he was frequently met with complaints. They rarely expressed thanks. Instead, they invariably expected more. And the most painful aspect was that when William eventually found himself in need of their assistance, they were invariably too busy. Then, one momentous day, William instituted a change. He ceased overextending himself. He stopped offering help before it was even requested. And most crucially, he began to say no when it was necessary. Initially, his children were perplexed and even frustrated. They couldn't comprehend why he was no longer bending over backward for their every whim. But gradually, something profound shifted. They began to value his time. They started to genuinely appreciate his efforts because, quite suddenly, they realized that his generosity was not boundless. It was a precious gift, not an automatic guarantee. If you sense that your children do not respect your time, your diligent efforts, or your kindness, take a deliberate step back. Ask yourself, are you giving more than you ought to? And if so, what would be the repercussions if you simply paused? Because when you teach individuals that your generosity is fundamentally contingent upon mutual respect, they will begin to treat it precisely that way. Comment reciprocal respect if this point truly resonates with you. 6. Forge a fulfilling life beyond them. Now, let's explore the sixth and arguably one of the most potent strategies for reclaiming your children's respect, demonstrating to them that your happiness is not solely dependent on their presence. As parents, it is inherently natural to dedicate ourselves wholeheartedly to our children, to make them the very nucleus of our existence. However, as we mature, that dynamic inevitably transforms. And if you have dedicated your entire life to prioritizing their needs, they may begin to perceive you as someone who lacks other meaningful pursuits. People inherently respect individuals who possess their own distinct purpose, their own engaging interests, and their own profound sense of self-fulfillment. If your children observe that you rely heavily on them for amusement, validation, or a sense of meaning, they might begin to feel stifled, or, even worse, they might start to view you as someone who lacks a vibrant life of your own. Consider the compelling story of Beatrice, a spirited widow in her late 70s from Arizona, USA. After her beloved husband passed away, she poured all her energy into her children's lives, constantly checking in, dispensing unsolicited advice, and expecting them to fill the profound void that her husband once occupied. But instead of drawing them closer, this intensity inadvertently pushed them away. Their visits became less frequent, their phone calls grew shorter, and Beatrice felt more isolated than she ever had before. Then she made a courageous choice. She joined a dynamic local hiking group. She began taking invigorating painting classes. She volunteered diligently at a nearby animal shelter. She consciously stopped making her children the absolute center of her world, and something truly incredible transpired. Her children began to reach out more frequently. They became genuinely curious about her new endeavors. They admired her newfound independence. They genuinely respected her vibrant spirit. So, if your children are not showing you the deference you desire, ask yourself this pivotal question. Do they perceive you as someone with a rich, meaningful, and self-directed life? Or do they see you as someone patiently waiting for their attention? Because when you unequivocally demonstrate to them that you are actively living, not merely existing, they will begin to perceive you in an entirely fresh and profoundly different light. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment Vibrant Life below to let me know you're fully engaged. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I wholeheartedly recommend you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our illuminating videos. Your continuous support is the bedrock that helps us continue creating high-quality content designed to both enlighten and inspire you. Final reflections. Respect is never something you can simply demand from your children. It is something you profoundly inspire through the dignified way you conduct yourself, through the robust boundaries you meticulously establish, and through the intentional way you choose to live your own life. If they have begun to treat you with less care, less consideration, or less deference, do not squander your precious energy on anger. Instead, strategically shift your entire approach. Stop chasing their approval, because paradoxically, the less you need it, the more freely they will offer it. Lead by exemplary behavior, because your inherent dignity speaks volumes louder than any words you might utter. Withdraw your emotional dependence, because the more self-sufficient and complete you are as an individual, the more they will genuinely respect your inherent presence. Set clear and unyielding boundaries, because people, especially family members, will only ever treat you as well as you explicitly require them to. Cease giving without genuine appreciation, because when generosity is perpetually taken for granted, it inexorably loses its inherent value. And most critically, build a rich and fulfilling life outside of them, because people universally respect those who possess their own unwavering purpose, their own profound sources of joy, and their own deep sense of personal fulfillment. If you commit to embracing these transformative actions, something truly incredible will unfold. Your children will begin to perceive you in an entirely different light, not as someone passively waiting for their fleeting attention, but as an individual who intrinsically commands respect simply by virtue of who they authentically are. And in due course, that respect will return to you, not because you demanded it, but because you demonstrably earned it through your courageous self-empowerment. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey today. We are genuinely eager to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one significant insight you gained today and how you intend to integrate it into your own life. Your invaluable thoughts and experiences are profoundly important to us, so please do not hesitate to share them. Reading your insightful comments provides us with immense motivation and encouragement. If you thoroughly enjoyed this video and found it genuinely helpful, please take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with others who might benefit from its message. Your support is paramount and empowers us to continue creating enriching content designed to both inform and inspire our cherished audience. Thanks for watching, and we eagerly anticipate seeing you in our next compelling video. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. And before you go, don't forget to explore some of our other fascinating videos right here on the channel. We have a treasure trove of content waiting to captivate and enlighten you.